I can edit that.
Yay.
Take 2. Ready?
Yeah.
Yay.
Good morning. Maybe. Oh boy, we are both, excuse me, we are both going, wait, what? So Liz is whining because she couldn't find needles this morning she wanted. And
I
I'm
work
just not
at a
paying
yarn
attention.
shop, so it's not as big a problem as it could be. But
I decided to throw my Fosette. I finished all these sweaters and then I'm not really wearing them all for you on camera. And then I realized
she can only wear them for 20 minutes anyway, so it's gonna be hot.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be hot in the next 20 minutes. Anyway, no. I realized with wearing the ranunculus that's shorter than this, so I haven't pulled this sleeve down, but some of these work over like my work shirts and some of them don't. And this looks a little funny because, my work shirt is hanging out just a little bit, but I don't have a cami in today. And so, yeah, the neckline is not following the neckline of my work shirt, whatever. I still want to remind you all of my lovely Fosette.
It is a pretty sweater.
It is very pretty. It would work nicely with a cami under it, but I'll stand this way. I don't like how wide I am when I stand in profile. So said no person ever, not just knitter. Anyway, but I love all the color work on this shirt, and it's fun. And technically, this is the Jody. I know we're gonna get to introductions in just a second. This is the Jody Long Summer Delight. What was that look for?
I hadn't said anything.
She looked at you all. What's up? No, I know exactly what's up with that. This is the Jody Long Summer Delight. Oh gosh, I can't even get anything sorted today. This is the cotton with a little bit of cashmere. And I just have to remind myself how yummy it is. So I'm wearing this shirt. And everyone needs to just ignore that my work t-shirt underneath looks like, I won't even say, because it's a family-friendly show. Okay. Hi. Welcome to the Liz and
to the Dear Becky and Lizzy edition of the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
I was getting ahead of myself. I was about to say Liz and Rebecca show, and that's not quite. I mean, that is what we are, but it's not our title. So, how is your morning going? By the time you see this, it will be afternoon because, oh my gosh. Okay.
Could be evening.
I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in very, very foggy, gonna burn off and get hot today, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
I was about to say, oh my gosh, yesterday. So yesterday was Vikings, but not necessarily lots of money to show for it at the end of the day Vikings, which is not the only reason we're in business. So that's okay. We had lovely conversations with wonderful people yesterday.
It was like they were awesome Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Just they weren't looking for
sweater projects and things, which that happens, and that's okay. We have had enough days recently, which I hope continue, of sweater Vikings, we can call them. They weren't all making sweaters, but they were stocking up, they were buying big amounts of yarn. That the days when we have great conversations and don't make a lot of sales are okay. But the flip side of great conversations that take a lot of time, which we thoroughly enjoy, means that I didn't get to publish yesterday's video until we went home. Like, if anyone, I doubt this is the case, but if anyone is sitting waiting for our videos on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, yesterday they were going, did they die? What happened?
It was a fantastic.
It was a good day.
A fantastic social day yesterday.
Yes.
We'll call it social. We
saw old friends. We met new friends. We had lovely conversations with people who stumbled across our shop and got nothing else done. Which happens sometimes. Like in yesterday's video, I said I have to go because I have to photograph all of the new Daydream 9 to 5 colors because I still have to get them up. I have not done that yet. Because it hit the end of the day. We had a shopper come in right at the very end of the day, and it was lovely to see her too. And then I went, I need to take pictures. It was just going to take too long. I went home. I just went home. and got some cable knitting done to soothe my soul. So, anyway.
I went home and played with finishing the end of the row of the Papillon that I was on during the
That's how much she touched your yarn yesterday.
And I was like, I have to remember there are 3 more little bits at the end. Like it's one of the little wingy bits
you build on.
And I was like, I have to remember to finish that before I start the next row. Otherwise life could be hairy. So so I did that. And then this morning I woke up and I was like, I really want to play with my zombie yarns. So I don't even know why. They're not my colors.
Explain what you mean by your zombie yarn, because other people are going, huh?
So
when you said that, I thought of your zombie thing you'd already made. And I went, no, wait, you said shawl. I was so confused.
So Lorna's Laces went out of business and we're all sadnessed.
Yes, and we're trying to make sure our inventory is correct so people don't buy things we don't have.
And so we carry Zombie Apocalypse 2020 because
which was wonderful.
It's fantastic. And we used to carry, but I found more that I might have accidentally bought. And like, it's Zombie Barbecue. We don't have this, but I want to mix Zombie Apocalypse and Zombie Barbecue together in a shawl.
That would be fantastic.
I have it in my heart to do that. And I was like, ooh, I'll start it today during the Dear Becky and Lizzy. And I couldn't find needles and it's still all not wound. So
I said, are you ready? And she's like, yeah.
Nah.
So I'm
a little whiny.
Wrong? What's wrong, honey? I'm gonna pet you, but we're not touching that much because COVID.
So it's sadness because it's sitting in my bag. It will eventually probably.
By the way, it was yesterday
Sunday.
Or the day before that one of our knitters who came in. So Lorna's Laces, Lorna, who started it, sold it to Amanda, who we've been working with for the past year. And Amanda's the one who said, can't do it anymore. But one of our knitters mentioned that Lorna of Lorna's Laces has started her own line.
Found it last night.
I'm looking at it right now. It's Zombie Yarns is the woman who started Lorna's Laces now has Zombie Yarns. And some of these definitely have a Lorna's feel to it. I think there was like a no compete thing for like 7 years when she sold it.
She has an about page and she talks about starting Lorna's Laces and then she sold it and she did designing for other companies. Like she yarn designer and then she decided what she really liked doing best was dyeing
She
yarn,
said dyeing again. So she's like, I'm a zombie. So hence Zombie Yarns, which, all the zombie colors we love. When they said it was Zombie Yarns, I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
So I think she's doing just like Zombie Yarns is Lorna Dyes Again. I think she's just doing super small batch, I don't even think we would bring it into the shop necessarily, but check her out.
The name, like she has Decay and they're all zombie related.
Corpse, Alive, Gusty, Fingering, Roamer, Roddy, Scream. There's only a few options there and they're beautiful. Go check them out. And it's okay that you're not buying from us because she's really cool. So, and I wasn't paid to say that. Ha! No, there's so much. The reason I say that is there's so much in the Instagram and other worlds of like, I've been paid to promote this product. All you get from us is this is in our shop and we like it. And I'd love to sell it to you because I want my shop to stay afloat. So, but no one's paying me to say it. I'm kind of maybe self-paying myself, I guess. I don't know. So maybe it's still the same thing. I have no idea.
I like the Yummy Squishy. And my first zombie ever yarns that I played.
The bases were wonderful. And I don't know, cause she's the dyer. I don't think she made the bases, but the bases that she used for her yarns and Amanda then continued to use were wonderful. And so many colors.
The first zombie colorway that I ever played with was Zombie Barbecue from Lorna's Laces. And it's my favorite. And I don't like those colors, like red is the only color in there that is like my happy place. But for some reason, zombie barbecue and zombie apocalypse have
They're just fun.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so it's the Dear Becky and Lizzy edition. I'm like, wait, where were we?
Continue.
And we did get a question in overnight. I was ready to just vamp in some weird way on something.
Not that
not that ever happens. But we can answer the question and then we can vamp with what remaining time we have, because we only gave you a half hour yesterday. But I would say maybe that balanced out with the hour we gave you on Tuesday. And if not, we'll see how long we go today. Because I don't think we have many appointments today.
No.
Which is fine, because we're actually doing a whole lot more walk-up traffic than appointments. This is your friendly announcement reminder that appointments are preferred but not required anymore. But I think one way I put it on social media is shop capacity currently, this could change, is currently 2 groups or 4 people, whichever we hit first. And then after that, we may ask you to chill outside for a little bit or come back later. But if you have an appointment, then you take priority. You might be part of that 2 groups, 4 people, but if 4 people walk up, sorry.
If you have an appointment and you're like, I really don't want to share the shop, you have the appointment.
You have the ability to say that. And if you're fine with sharing the shop, that's great. If 4 people walk up at 5 minutes before your appointment, we would say we can only let a few of you inside because we have an appointment about to come. And so far that is working pretty well for us. And we still are asking everyone to wear a mask inside. We're requiring, but we will ask because we're nice. And if you say no, we'll say we'll help you outside. So, and we can provide paper masks and all that good stuff. And if you are nowhere near this area, so you can't come in, all of that was superfluous, but we got to say it. So, Zoom shop with us, shop online. There's still so many things we have a lot of stuff online. We were talking about that with customers. There's still things here that aren't online though, because when we weren't letting anybody in, I had time to put things up online. And when Liz is like, I'm just going to go back to knitting because she's going on a tangent. It's not a thing. And I could focus on doing all the other things that we need to do to keep the shop going. And now that we're letting more people in, it's suddenly like, oh, this is why we didn't do this pre-pandemic, because it requires a whole nother set of employees, which we don't have. And we are probably not going to have for multiple reasons right now, because it's a pandemic and we don't want too many people in here. And also because I don't know if I can afford it. So, although, spend money, make money, right?
The third reason,
there's a third
right
reason
now, is it takes time to train somebody.
I don't have time training.
It's another thing that when I started hanging out, I just watched you do everything for 3 months.
And we don't have a way to let someone hang out and watch.
Yeah.
Right now. So yeah, it's just
it's crazy.
It's a lot, and we're doing the best we can for y'all, and we appreciate those of you who know that and appreciate that. And we appreciate everybody, but especially the people who understand how wildly crazy this is right now. So
it's a good problem to have.
But that's still a problem, though.
That's still a problem.
That's my answer when people are like, it's a good problem to have. You want this, right? And I go, but it's still a problem. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a better problem than other problems, but it's still a problem. Anyway, I think my tangent's done, Liz. What's our question?
Are you sure?
I don't know.
Okay. Dear Becky and Lizzy, I'll just dive right in.
Please do. Otherwise, I'll start tangenting. Go, 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 go.
How does lanolin, sheepy oil, I like that. I always call it sheep sweat, but
she said sheepy oil. Yeah, we're going to talk about sweat in a second. Go ahead.
Affect the knitting process and end results. Any suggestions on what to make with it? That was paragraph 1. Paragraph 2. I'm interested in publishing a pattern on Ravelry. Can I link Rebecca's tips and tricks videos as recommended help? Loving your energy and vibes and company, Shelby Rose. P.S. I'm saving one more question for a real life letter.
I don't know if she wanted her. Well, that's kind of a moniker anyway, so that's good. It's not like now someone knows her first and last names. Okay, so we're gonna take this piece at a time. And I was thinking about this because she sent me a screenshot like really early this morning, and I went, "Why are you up?"
It was not really early this morning. It was right before 7 o'clock.
For
Just
you,
barely
that's
right
early,
before 7
man.
o'clock.
I mean, from my knowledge
On a
of her,
work day, it's not early.
I usually don't try to contact her until 8 o'clock, just in case. That's all I'm saying. So when I was thinking about this, when you sent me that screenshot, I wanted to make the disclaimer, which we say often on this show, of we speak from our experience and not from absolute knowledge of everything. Because sheep sweat is one of those things that I know some things about, but not that much.
And
So
most commercially available yarn
doesn't have a whole lot of sheep
has
sweat in it.
been stripped of the lanolin.
So let's dive into that, because I was saying that disclaimer because I'm sure there's some people watching, or people who will be watching, who will totally disagree with things we're saying, or say no, that's not right, or which I guess is what I just said, or have things to add. Let's put it that way. I'm sorry, I had a little calendar reminder pop up that will stay there until I dismiss it. So I have to dismiss it because I lost my train of thought for a second. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. Okay. I heard, is it not EMDR? What is the AMSR? No. Yeah. The thing where you whisper and you crinkle paper and stuff. Apparently whispering is very soothing for people. But we don't do a lot of that. We're the quiet sisters. So you're like, what are you doing? I'm just saying it was this cool. Okay. I was listening to NPR on the way in. This is my second tangent. Maybe it's not more than my second because I'm not keeping track. It was like yesterday or the day before, as I'm driving and trying not to hit deer that are just hanging out on the side of the road, because that's where I live. It was about soothing sounds or something. And you can there's a paid subscription for these soothing sounds. And they went into the ASMR. Maybe that's the right order. It stands for something. It's like ambient sound, something. But it's about, for some people, that gives them the tingles in their spine and stuff. And it makes them feel good. And it's like big bucks. People on Instagram and all over YouTube, no, seriously, that might not do it for you. But no, people get paid, or people have millions of followers for just whispering into a microphone. Seriously, it's a thing. She doesn't know about this. She knows about everything.
No.
It's a thing. It's even been on sitcoms and stuff. It was on Will and Grace, the new Will and Grace reboot. And anyway, I digress. That's my thing. But no, apparently one of the most soothing sounds was just whispering. That's why they were saying on the last Super Bowl, there was a Michelob ad or a beer ad where it was all about sounds and the person was just whispering, because apparently that makes a lot of people feel good. So
alrighty then.
Occasionally I'll whisper maybe and try that out.
It's just wrong.
I'm sorry. Moving on.
Sheep
what were we
sweat.
talking? Oh, sheep sweat.
So
okay, yeah, lanolin. Lanolin is you know so much more than me, so I'm gonna get in my 2 cents worth. Never mind. I'm just gonna let her talk.
Go ahead. If you want to talk.
It's only things that you've told me. So lanolin is the fancy name for sheep sweat. And it's when you get 100% wool that's not superwashed and been stripped, or we have one yarn in the shop that I could say you could kind of feel the lanolin. It feels a little sticky. It feels a little it's the oils, but it's really sheep sweat. And it's part of what makes the felting work and everything. And I'm already losing what I know, what little I know. I'm losing words. So I'm going to let Liz talk, and I'm going to go grab one of the few yarns we have that has noticeable sheep sweat in it.
Lanolin, when you shear a sheep, and they'll call it a greasy sheep, it's just a lot of lanolin.
Yeah,
and
it's the greasy stuff.
Yes. Yeah, you really spinners don't really like spinning with the greasy yarn because it'll mess up spinning wheels and stuff. But for knitting yarn that has lanolin in it, it can waterproof.
It's really cool
stuff. So all the old timey sweaters from the Baltic and Scandinavia and everything, they were very lanolin rich yarns for those fishermen's sweaters. In fact, fishermen's the yarn
Fisherman knit.
no Lion's brand fisherman's yarn has lanolin in it.
It's part of, I think, I could be wrong and she will correct me. It might be part of why people think that wool is scratchy.
It can have,
is because the older wool that has more of the greasy stuff in it can give it more texture, can give it more, and people find it irritates their skin a little bit more. Even though it sounds, when we say the words greasy and stuff, that often can mean that people feel it on, doesn't mean it slips on their skin when they're wearing a sweater, but it means they can feel the texture more.
Lanolin, they'll strip it out of a lot of commercially available yarns, like
especially if they're going to superwash. That's stripping it not only of the lanolin, but of the scales on the yarn itself, and they use chemicals for that.
Lanolin will also help protect some of the wool fibers. Like it makes it
just
softer,
more,
but more durable. But lanolin by itself has a huge health, but like they use it.
I don't know.
They use it commercially in hospital stuff, in lip balms, in if you're nursing mom, in some of the ointments that you would use for nursing. Lanolin, it's an all natural
sheep
product.
Sweat.
But it's sheep sweat. Like people are like, ooh, that's gross. And it's like,
no, it's just a natural product. That's pretty cool.
It's probably why they call it lanolin instead of sheep sweat. Like,
yeah, well, but sheep sweat has this ring to it, Liz. It's no, I always tell the story of, I used to watch, I don't think it's on Netflix anymore, but they had the Norwegian slow knitting. It was the slow TV phenomenon in Norway. People aren't knitting slowly, but it's hours and hours of one thing. So it's slow. It's like you can just keep it on in the background. And it was the challenge to sheep to sweater. You can only have so many knitters, and you have to go from actually shearing the sheep right in front of you to spinning it and then to knitting it. And it takes hours there, but they're knitting really fast. So it's not slow knitting. The knitting's not actually slow, but it's part of the slow TV phenomenon. Anyway, the fascinating thing when I was watching that is they would say they had to keep cleaning their hands off, because taking it right off the sheep and just grabbing the wool off the floor and spinning it, they hadn't cleaned it, they hadn't carded it, they hadn't done anything that might reduce the amount of lanolin, the amount of sheep sweat in it. So it was really greasy, and they were like, it's slipping and I can't, and I need
like
to
dousing your hands with conditioner every time you take a fistful of
that almost sounds
to
nice
spin.
though.
Yeah, but it
doesn't work for the spinning.
It gets slippy in your hands, and like it'll gum up the spinning wheel.
Yeah,
it's not, it sounds great, but
let's get back to what her question actually was, and if we're addressing it or not, or we're just having fun with the word lanolin.
What effect, how does it affect the knitting process and end results?
We're addressing some of that right now, right? It, like I said, if there's a lot of lanolin in the yarn, your hands, it'll affect how you feel when you're knitting it. And it could be lubrication in a good way, or it could be just too slippy, slidey, whatever. The right amount of lanolin in yarn, I would think, would help it grip and set and like we were saying, be more durable and last longer. Like this is one of our sturdiest wools in the shop. It's not a big thick wool, but again, you can kind of feel it almost feels just the slightest bit of greasy, but not really, sticky, like a little tacky, like this compared to say Cascade 220, which is also 100% wool and wool felt, but it has been a little more processed. So you can't feel the lanolin in it. I think overall, because that's what people have been knitting with for years and years and years, it would be a good thing for the process and the end result, especially if you, like Liz is saying, if you want something sturdy, if you want something potentially weatherproof. But there is such demand and such popularity right now for superwash merino, which some people don't even realize is wool, because they hear merino instead of wool. That's a type of sheep, and because they want soft and they want machine washable. And we had someone come in the other day who wanted chunky or bulky weight yarn they could felt, which means not superwash wool, and we didn't have any. because we stock what sells.
all of the stripping the lanolin out and doing superwash and using more and more merino is all a relatively new thing because people want wool up against their skin.
And then they think it's itchy if
Yeah.
it's got the either they're reacting to the lanolin. Honestly, a lot of the time, and again, this is unscientific, more observational, but possibly right. A lot of times when people are allergic, it's either the feel of the wool against their skin, or it could be they're allergic to the lanolin that's in there. And so sometimes with superwash and something that's been super stripped down, they're not as allergic to.
And some wools by nature are just
I could be wrong.
scratchier than others,
Mhm.
like
Like,
the
I feel
Shetland that you're holding.
This is Shetland wool. So again, it's a certain type of sheep, and this is 100% wool, but it's not one type of sheep. It's roving gangs of sheep, as we like to say.
Gangs, yep.
And it's been processed and mixed enough and probably like washed and carded enough that this one you're not going to feel a whole lot of lanolin in, the Cascade 220, whereas the Queensland Walkabout, I mean, we got a cowl sample in somewhere that it almost can stand up and walk away on its own because of the structure and probably because of some of what's going on with this yarn and the type of sheep. So, but it's very organic. If for it's not an appropriate term for the crusty or granola types.
Well,
which I'm happy to say, sometimes I'm in that mode myself.
A hardier,
this would be wonderful.
A hardier wool will wear longer than a softer wool.
Like someone wanted to make gnomes for their doorstep as a doorstop. This is perfect for it because it will last longer, especially if it's outdoors a whole bunch. Whereas maybe, and then the superwash, nice stuff. No, that will just fall apart. So, but that will be nice and squiggly and soft against your skin. Lanolin does not, even though we're saying sheep sweat and grease, does not mean it's going to feel softer against your skin.
It sometimes it depends on the wool that the lanolin is attached to.
Yeah, the type of sheep and the processing and there's so much. And more than half of this, I learned after I opened a yarn shop. I remember when one of our knitters, shout out to Renee, came in with a book of sheep and she was looking for specific types of wool when I was over in the little shop. And I got all nervous because I was just like, huh? And I've learned so much since then. Not everything, but I've learned a whole lot. And some of that is just by having to buy more yarn or having to work with more yarn. And people say, oh, you know so much, or you're so good at this, that, and the other. I'm not good at knowing sheep and all that stuff yet. Or good at the knitting part of it and what I do and the skills I have. And that's just from doing it a lot. That's not necessarily because I just innately know this stuff. Anyway.
The answer to any suggestions of what to make with yarn, with lanolin, anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't make like intimate apparel out of it.
But be like a little negligee. No, I wouldn't do that.
There are,
I wouldn't make a bathing suit out of it.
But anything. You could do cowls, hats.
Things that, especially if you live in colder climates where you want to stay warm and like lots of snow and you don't want your hat to be sopping wet against your head. That's the kind of thing that this would be better for. It's wonderful for durable sweaters. People have been doing it for years. If you want to do, like we had someone who came in this week who said that's one of the reasons, I forget why it was the reason, but it got us on the track of she only steeks cardigans. She only makes cardigans like in the round to steek them.
Because she doesn't like to purl.
Oh, that's what it was. I knew there was a reason. And I just went, well, steeking scares the behoozies out of me. But when you have a sticky yarn, like
it helps
with a non-superwash, especially if it's got some lanolin in it, this stuff would be great for if you want to make a project you're going to steek. And for people who are like, what the heck is steeking? That's where you reinforce it before you do it in various ways. But that's where you just slice through your knitting, like this knit in the round, and then you cut it to make it into a cardigan. Or like, that's why a lot of the Norwegian cardigans with lots of fancy fair isle, they knit them in a circle and then they cut it rather than having to purl your fair isle. And something like this, cotton doesn't have a lot of stick to it. And cotton retains moisture. There's all kinds of reasons I wouldn't make something for winter wear out
It's
of
moisture
cotton.
wicking.
It's
It'll hold, cotton will hold
yes, it's wicking in that it
5
doesn't,
times its weight in water.
but it doesn't wick it necessarily away from you. It
just
holds it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes when you see the advertisements for wicking technology that pulls moisture away from you, like if you're an exercise buff, that kind of thing, that's not the same thing we're talking about here. Like you don't really want to wear cotton when you're exercising because it will wick it away from your skin, but then it will pool in the cotton thing you're wearing and it will be nasty. So that's why all that neoprene and all the breathing stuff. Anyway, that's my third or fourth digression.
Okay.
Wait, I wasn't done. And now I don't really know what I was going to say, but I know I wasn't done. So no, it's wool keeps heat in. And they say, I was looking up for someone and I think I replied to their email about socks for people with diabetes. And what I was finding in the research on that was wool socks are better. There aren't necessarily like regular wool and nylon socks are still the best for people who are diabetics or have diabetes, because you don't actually want cotton and stuff, because one of the issues is swelling of feet and sometimes extra
Wool
sweating
can
and things.
Keep
And
the structure better.
wool can keep the structure better, and wool can keep your feet drier so you don't get sores and things like that. And cotton actually is not good. You would think it's softer on people's feet if they're swelling, but there's other reasons it might be more abrasive and things like that. Anyway, I would use things with lanolin and wool if, in many ways, if you want to stay dry and warm. Cotton is great if you're in warmer climates and you need something. Cotton will breathe in the, like, for when it's hot out. But if you get rained on with cotton, it will be like wet and soggy and nasty. So, I think I'm done.
Okay.
I'm sure there were other things to say, but we should talk about the rest of the question.
Second part of the question. I'm interested in publishing a pattern on Ravelry. Can I link
That's
Rebecca's
cool.
tips and tricks videos as recommended help?
That would be wonderful. I am totally fine with people using my tips and tricks videos as assistance for patterns, as assistance for publications. The biggest thing for me personally, and any other videos you would want to use, check with the people who made those videos, is giving credit where credit's due. As a former teacher who was teaching people about writing papers and plagiarism and all that fun stuff, and the person who's writing this, I don't think would intend to like steal my videos, but make sure that if you're using someone else's work, first ask them, which this person is doing, and I'm saying, sure, that's fantastic. But also give credit where credit is due. So that there's two reasons for that. So that the people don't think you made the videos and then ask you for more videos, or, that kind of thing. To say, here's a Sun Dragon video that would be very helpful with the pattern that I have written, that kind of thing. The flip side of that is also so people don't think that I am the pattern writer. And when they look at my video, then ask me questions about a pattern I know nothing about. So, or I know something about, but maybe can't discuss in that way. I'll give you an example of, I've made a bunch of videos for Marin's Papillon, and I'm happy to do that. And that was fun. And it's not like she tacked them onto her pattern and is taking credit. She's absolutely giving me credit, which is wonderful. It's more on my end. People come across my videos, and I think I've been pretty clear in the description that that I didn't write the pattern. I'm just trying to help. But then people will be asking me, they'll be like, but I'm on this row and I'm having trouble with this and I need help. And as we have already said before, we are so busy, we can't even get stuff done for the shop. So it's hard for me to get back to everybody's questions on videos. And sometimes they want more videos, or they want something more intensive, for me to publish something more intensive,
or something that's so specific to the pattern you'd be giving away too much.
That's where I was getting. Yes. No, you're fine. No, because I talk too much. It's okay. Liz can say things that I'm going to say, because then I'm not talking all the time. But that's where I was heading.
Yeah.
Was I can't like do the whole pattern on a video, because that is giving away Marin's pattern. I mean, we're getting off track from what she's specifically asking, but that's one of the things. And then if someone says, well, but why did you say this on this line and that thing? And it's like, I didn't write the pattern. And it's a very good pattern, by the way, the Papillon. Very good pattern. And most of the times that people get hung up or off track, it's not because the pattern has an error in it. It could be they didn't know where to start, or their counting got off, or, you know, sometimes I can answer those questions and sometimes I can't. And I don't want to mislead people into thinking that I don't care. And that's why I haven't written the back. It's usually because I just don't have time or I'm exhausted. I try to point people in that case to the Butterfly Knit Along page, KAL page on Facebook. It's fantastic. And there's lots of people making that pattern there, and crowdsourcing to find answers to questions is wonderful. But getting back to shout out to Shelby, to her question, I have no problem with that. And thank you for asking. And just make sure that it's clear that A, it's not your video, which I know you wouldn't want to do. And B, that it's clear that the video maker is not the pattern writer. So we don't have any confusion on that of people saying, well, in this pattern that you wrote, and I'll go, what pattern? Huh? But I think it's excellent. People want to publish on Ravelry. If you have followed a bunch of patterns, definitely pay attention if you're going to start writing your own patterns, which I have only done in the most basic sense myself. I'm not a pattern writer, and that's okay. I don't have time and brain power and all that good stuff. Definitely pay attention to what some of the formulas are for patterns and things you like about how people have organized their patterns when you're writing your own. Because I will say the Knitting Guild of America actually has a knitting master's program. And it's 3 levels and it's super intensive. And part of that program is to try to, I started level 1 many years ago and I totally stalled out. And one of these days I could get back to it, but it's fantastic. But one part of the reason for doing it is not only so people learn about stuff, but so there is some sense of a systematization. It's kind of a half made up word.
Standardized.
That's there. See, I knew someone would find the words. A standard for pattern writing, a standard for all bunches of different things, so that we're all on the same page. And that, I think, in some ways, from my perspective of the wider world, not just for you personally, for what you are getting out of the master's program, if you decide to engage in it, I feel like the benefit for society as a whole is if everyone has the same standards for pattern writing, then the number of people who come in and say patterns are confusing might start to go down. It will never go to nil because there's always a learning curve on reading patterns. But having an info page at the beginning where you specifically have the gauge and what needles are, what supplies are needed, and or any substitutions if you know of them, and having a place where you can look before the pattern starts to know what you need, and then maybe a page of any guidelines or any information you want, not a whole page, but some people have whole pages. Any heads up you think people should know before they start, and clear directions and clear organization and all that good stuff. And going back to my video on not making assumptions, as a pattern writer, I encourage people to don't make any assumptions, to not make assumptions. I could make a complete sentence at some point. Not to make assumptions about what your knitters know and don't know. Like, oh, of course they know what these abbreviations mean. I will only explain those, or I won't explain any because they can look them up. I'd like to tell people a good pattern will have a page as long as it needs of, if you want to use abbreviations, make sure you have clearly explained all of your abbreviations somewhere. That's easy to find in the pattern. That's a big pet peeve for me.
If you're going to use abbreviations, there is not a standard, but there's more commonly used ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to make my own abbreviation. You definitely need to define that if you're making
I think you need to define everything.
Well, yeah.
But yes, anything that you might be like, well, I like this word for it, or I like this term, make sure it's clear.
Yeah.
Like, or like the flip side of what Liz is bringing up, do your research on what already are the standard abbreviations and use them if you can. And if you prefer something else, even the standard abbreviations, make sure they are defined somewhere in your pattern, like having a key, having a block somewhere where everything is mapped out. Even K means knit and P means purl, because you don't know how many people you might be turning off from your pattern by assuming they already know what some of the basics are. Just explain everything.
Well, and a new knitter could stumble across.
That's what I'm saying.
Or
that's what I'm saying.
We've noticed in the shop over the last few years, people are learning to knit and crochet off YouTube.
Mhm.
So they're not learning the abbreviations. So when they go look at a pattern,
Mhm.
or they've only there are whole patterns on YouTube where the person walks you through it.
That's the other thing. People are learning how to make a whole thing just off of a YouTube video.
So
sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
They've never come across a pattern,
Mhm.
a paper pattern with the whole, K this many and W and T and oh my gosh.
And what I call a chicken
shorthand.
foot, I wouldn't call a chicken foot in a pattern, because it's like, what?
Yeah, it's
a shorthand.
It's a shorthand
even-
that takes a while to learn. Go ahead.
I'm trying not to interrupt.
You're fine. I'm done.
No, I'm not. It's okay. But even if you're going to label it as an advanced pattern or an intermediate pattern or something, explain everything. And you don't have to explain as you go, but have a key somewhere, I think is super invaluable. And if it's anything, I was going to say, if it's anything above those basics, walk them through how to do it. Like the ones I like best are like, and cable patterns are ones where when it's got like a cable truncation, like a C6F or something, it doesn't just say that this is a 3x3 crisscross or something, which someone go, what?
Hanging on the front.
That's what I'm saying.
The
Is
Yeah,
yes, but
walk it through.
or right leaning or left leaning is to actually word it out somewhere. Only once in your key, so you don't have to say it over and over and over again. Because that's the big thing with pattern writing when people go, huh? Is a lot of patterns use those abbreviations, which can be like learning a new language, because otherwise the pattern is going to be 6 times as long. And if you
At
use
least.
abbreviations, then it's not. So, but have a page where things are clearly defined, or where if someone goes there, they can read through, or have links like Shelby's thinking about doing. Have links where it's like, okay, if you want to see how to do this, click here. But know that there are going to be some knitters who want the videos and some knitters who want the words. And the more comprehensive you can be, the better, the wider an audience you will reach. Now you can make, like, as shop owners, we can make decisions about what we're doing here. And we can say, you know what, if you're not comfortable with that, you're not our customer. Same thing with pattern writers. You can make a decision of, well, I'm only going to write out in words. I'm not going to do videos. And videos are a lot of work. So again, pairing with someone who might have the videos, great. But if you're going to say, I'm only going to do videos, I'm not going to write it out, again, you might be limiting your audience by doing that. It's a lot of people will find that awesome and say perfect. And some people will go, no, can't do it. So that's my soapbox on that one. I've lost track of how many tangents, but some were related. So we got about 15 minutes till we're going to open the shop.
We're done.
Did we
with
cover
that.
most of that?
Yep. Loving your energy, vibes, and company. P.S. I'm planning one more question for a real life letter.
She's going to write us a real letter that we can hold up and feel and add to the stack. I mean, the emails all stay in Liz's email, hopefully.
They do.
But so we have a record of all of them, but the physical, like right now it's buried. It gets buried under yarn.
Every
but
now and then I dig it out and
it's there.
It's there.
So
the basket's actually heavy. I thought it was all the yarn on top of the basket. It's all the cards and letters.
And our energy and vibes, thank you for loving it. Part of it's like right before we started, we were like, filming these in some ways gives me energy and pulls me out of all the poopy things that I'm feeling. So it's a win-win for all of us. And Did you like that, Liz? I noticed last week's screenshots, and some of them I actually took, and some of them YouTube suggested. I had like the same facial expression in all of them. It was all like, and I was like, oh, this is gonna get boring. But if people watch it because I'm going, I'll go as often as you want. So, please write us a letter if you want us to expound, maybe for a whole episode, just on your email or letter. We could do it. Look at that. Because I find tangents that are semi-related and will fill the time. So
all day long.
Because guess what? Sometimes this happens when the camera's not rolling too. We still need to do a behind the scenes video for this. I've done a couple behind the scenes video for our upper level of patrons on Patreon for my tips and tricks. But finding the time to do a behind the scenes here is tough. So we will think about that, but I can't promise that anytime soon.
How long do your behind the scenes last?
It depends, because sometimes it's me, like I let people watch me draw what I'm drawing as setup.
Well,
but it could be just a couple minutes. We could just run around the shop.
We could turn it on, like start recording,
and you get to see us being poopy before we
and you know.
Yeah, well, one of these we have brainstorms. We just have to see how time goes. Maybe next week we'll think about that. I don't want to make promises I can't keep. That's one of my mantras.
Get back up a ladder at some point.
At some point, I could film you up a ladder, and you know, fingers might be thrown. That's why it's behind the scenes and not here. So we're still brainstorming on that. But please write us a letter and email if you would like to have things pondered upon on the Dear Becky and Lizzy edition. And the letters would be sent to Dear Becky and Lizzy, Sun Dragon Art and Fiber, 35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712. And the emails,
liz@sundragonartandfiber.com.
all spelled out. So I think it's in the description. I do a lot of copying and pasting and editing in the description, but I think that is still in there somewhere. So we are going to have our normal shop day today and our normal shop day tomorrow. And then we have knit night. So you should join us on, that's what I implied by saying we have our normal day tomorrow. And then anyway,
I'm tired and wouldn't get that if I were watching.
Okay. So let's say Friday night is knit night from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. See, you're just dropping your yarn. That's what's going to happen. Eastern Standard Time, daylight time, whatever the heck, East Coast time in the United States. Please do the math wherever you live. Because I don't know if we can do the math correctly right now. We're tired. The shop phone number is what you need to enter the Zoom call, the meeting, the magic portal.
828-877-3550.
There you go. And we will, lather, rinse, repeat, and do it all again next week with our normal schedule. So we had a question. Liz just identified this for me. We had a question. Shout out to Donna on yesterday's video. What's ring the bell? And I said, when did we say ring the bell? Liz says it. So I said,
yeah. It's
when
subscribe, like, ring the bell. It's the little alert button.
It depends on where you're watching this, if you can see that underneath. But underneath, like with the subscription thing, there's it looks like a little ringy bell. And when you click that, then you get alerts, I think, when new videos come out.
I think you're supposed to, yeah.
Yeah. We're saying all the words we're supposed to say. We don't know how it all works. So it's like, buy stuff online and put in this discount code.
What?
I've never bought anything from my own shop online, so I only so much understand how that works.
I have.
You can tell people then when there's questions.
I've walked, before I bought something from the shop, I had to walk somebody through it.
Yeah.
And it is a little weird because you got to put in all your addresses and everything. But then you can put pickup at the shop.
I can tweak it to only have one page, but then it's like a mile long. And so there's no good way to have it work. And I'm kind of stuck with, it mostly functions well, but I'm kind of stuck with the online system that coordinates with our point of sale here in the shop, because we have so much inventory. If we had a separate system like Shopify or something else where we had to keep track of the inventory, you might be able to sync them. And I know some people are going to tell me that would happen, but I've already paid all the money to have our point of sale online side work. So I'm not about to switch to something else, at least for the foreseeable future, because this is more streamlined. It's not always so streamlined for you on the purchasing end. It's okay.
For us, it gets us as close to being
On top of stuff.
on top of stuff as we can.
We found out yesterday we're not totally on top of stuff because sometimes the inventory here in the shop is not correctly listed here, and it's a lot of checking. You can see this is a small chunk of what is in this shop, and trying to make sure it's all accurate would take us, we wouldn't sleep. And we're actually trying to stay healthy right now. So sometimes sleep takes priority over making sure inventory is correct. 90% of the time the inventory is correct. And then of course, what people are buying online lately is the 10% sometimes.
And some of that has to do with the fact that if we put a kit up, we don't pull it out of the system.
Yeah,
and,
not as
so
much.
It's a glitchy thing versus,
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just weird.
Sometimes
it's owner error, and sometimes it's just weird technology. Anyway, which tangent was that? 6, 7? I don't know. But yes, please, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this lovely channel. I think at some point I can dig into the analytics. I can't see personal people watching, but I can see how many people who are subscribed are watching or who are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing, because it's a win-win. Because if we get to 600 subscribers, we will have a sale with a code that only you watching will get. And usually it's like good for a couple weeks, which is pretty cool. So again, if you want alerts, ring the bell, that little bell-shaped symbol. Share this with other people you think might enjoy it, because then we grow too. Win-win. And there's always if you really, really love us, we have a special thank you to all of our subscribers over our patrons, because subscribers are here. Patrons are over on Patreon. We have an extra special thank you, and we have you in the credits at the end, everyone who is choosing to support us over on Patreon. And we have subscriptions for as small as $3 a month, and it goes up to currently, I think, $50 a month. You get extra special frilly fun stuff for that. I have thought about making higher levels where maybe you don't have to pay for lessons and help and things, but I have not hit go on that yet. So we'll see. Do you have anything to add, Liz?
Nope.
I think it's time. So nope, she's good. Yep. Maybe
I finished a whole row.
I'm just gonna feel the lanolin as we go here. So squish, squish, squish. She got a whole row done. That's fantastic. I thought about picking up. I did this for my morning meditation. I got one more stripe done on this I held up yesterday, and this is a little lighter than this, believe it or not, but it's hard to see. So I want to keep working on this today, but it's also mohair on an 8, so we'll see.
And if we're working on it outside, it's going to be hot.
We'll see how hot I get. I'll probably work on my stone catcher, because that's a little more not all in my lap.
It'll be like the Phoenix in Harry Potter that like just self-combusts.
You can
just the right moment walk by and watch Rebecca go. Pff.
Come to knit night tomorrow night and find out when I took this off. All right. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy. All that good stuff.
We love you. We miss
Mwah.
you.